Coming to you live from the Business RadioX studio, it's Franchise Marketing Radio, brought to you by IDS, an award-winning digital marketing agency that delivers integrated marketing solutions for franchisors, franchisees, and franchise development teams. Learn why over 75 brands depend on IDS's team of dedicated marketers and client service professionals to deliver a strong ROI on their marketing investment. Go to idsfranchisemarketing.com for a complimentary digital audit and consultation.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Franchise Marketing Radio. Your go-to podcast for insightful discussions with industry leaders and franchise experts. I'm your host, Rob Ganley, and today we have a fantastic guest joining us. We're going to delve into some techie stuff, so I really like that. We have Keith Wachter. He's a franchise development specialist at iTrip. So we're going to delve into iTrip, but Keith brings a wealth of experience to the show. He actually worked in an iTrip franchise. It was a family business for 8 years before joining the iTrip corporate team. His success in growing a short-term property management franchise, and I emphasize short-term property management franchise, we're going to unpack that today, combined with his business acumen, provides a unique perspective for franchise buyers interested in the iTrip opportunity. So we're going to definitely have him share more at the end of the show about how we can get a hold of him. But today, we're going to delve into the world of iTrip and exactly what is a short-term property franchise and where that huge opportunity lies. But it's a thriving franchise brand. It's not new, but it's evolving and very innovative. But they're revolutionizing the property management industry. So we're going to go ahead and explore the brand's history, unique strategies, and the advantages it offers its franchisees. And without further ado, Keith Wachter, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Rob. I'm very happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Very cool. Now, I told you earlier before we started that I noticed today or a couple days ago, you posted on LinkedIn that the family business in Orlando, you sold it. So I think that's amazing because I do think it's amazing when you were in the full cycle of the business. You got to see it get launched. You got to see it sold. And that's sort of the American dream. Congratulations for your family.
Thank you.
A lot of hard work, a lot of frustrating days, I'm sure, as entrepreneurs, right? Thank you for what you've created. The momentum, it's all part, you're all part of the iTrip brand. So I think that's important to note. But tell us about the journey. Tell us about that experience before we get started.
So it was really cool. It's been a long road to get here. It's been a really cool road. It's been an interesting ride. It's just kind of, it's hard to explain. And there's a lot of mixed emotions that kind of go along with it too. It provided the iTrip opportunity provided our family with an absolutely fantastic lifestyle. We loved the business. It provided us a lot of flexibility to do what we wanted to do together in terms of, things to do together as a family, and then getting involved in the business itself as well. So outside of, personal lifestyle, just getting involved in the business and, that being a part of our career was really cool. It was really cool. My sister is actually also in the business too. So I've got one sister. So it's truly a family business, and both parents were involved in the business. So really cool. When we started in 2009. So we started a year after iTrip was even founded. And it was a software licensure model at that point. Mm-hmm. So iTrip provided the software, the integrations, partnerships, and the processes for entrepreneurs that are looking to start short-term rental property management businesses. Back then, 2008 is when iTrip started. Airbnb, the mega brand that it is now, wasn't really the household name that it is now. It was kind of known. It was an exciting new concept, kind of a weird new concept. Everybody understood it as like house sharing, but they couldn't really see what was on the horizon, which was this massive short-term rental property management industry that was to come. So luckily enough, my family had the foresight to be able to see it. Now we've got 108 other franchisees that have also been able to see that and capitalize on it. But we've changed a lot since 2008, 2009. We switched over to that franchise model in 2015, so we can talk a little bit more about that if you'd like. But it's been really cool to see that. And again, it's been a wonderful experience for our family.
Yeah. Well, I commend that you switched over, and we will. Let's talk about that a little bit. But let's break down the opportunity a little and why you guys are special. So, short-term rental market. You mentioned Airbnb, so I think that immediately frames it for the audience, right? Like, but the opportunity, like, help us understand with the real estate market being what it is, being where it's going, the population growth, all that. These are factors that change the dynamics of how we live, our lifestyles. So tell me about the future of that, right? So, like, where is that going? I got to believe it's massive. And where do you guys fit in with the uniqueness? Like, what is it? Tell us about your innovative approach to delivering services in this market.
Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, the short-term rental industry overall has grown tremendously, like we've talked about over the past 10 years, but really even over the past 5 years, it's grown tremendously. It's been really wild to see the explosive growth that it's been able to experience. And in my opinion, I really don't see that slowing down anytime soon. You mentioned factors like real estate and growing population. Those are all going to have kind of factors on the housing market, which is where primarily the short-term rental market is able to expand. But it's been really interesting to see how things have changed and different studies that have come out as well. One factor that a lot of folks bring up is the affordable housing, and we do certainly need affordable housing in the United States. That there's been a couple of studies to show that the impact on short-term rentals or from short-term rentals on affordable housing is actually pretty minimal impact in terms of pricing and the supply overall. But anyway, getting back to the supply of the marketplace and short-term rentals, as of the beginning of this year, we saw almost a 22% year over year increase in supply of short-term rentals. So folks getting into the short-term rental market, converting properties to short-term rentals. And then we saw demand increase as well. So nights booked or bookings created, again, as of the beginning of this year, we're up 17% year over year. So we saw some tremendous growth that was following that supply number as well. And then typically, when you see that increase in demand, those bookings created, you'll start to see an increase in the nightly rates, the profitability as well. More bookings go up, you start to see those nightly rates overall increase as well. We did see that. So looking forward into the future, the other kind of unique aspect about the short-term rental industry is that it is maturing. A lot of people know about short-term rentals. A lot of people have stayed in an Airbnb, but there's still a lot of folks that haven't done it yet. They're still learning about them, still trying it out. And they're quickly realizing that for anything that's longer than a night or two stay, the short-term rental, there's no comparison. You have a full kitchen, you've got way more privacy, you've got all the comforts of being at home, and you still have all the conveniences of being close to whatever you need to be close to, since the supply number is growing as well. So those are all kind of unique aspects. And then on top of that, we're starting to see a new clientele actually staying in short-term rentals as well that we've not really seen before. Remote work is up tremendously. So we're seeing a lot of business travel increasing for short-term rental properties, especially, over summertime, where families, they want to get away. They want to get away for maybe a week and a half, something like that. But it's a little bit hard for mom or dad, to take, all that time off. So maybe they do a little bit of work while they're there on vacation. A workcation, as a lot of people are calling it. And they can do that way more easily, way more comfortably if they either have a dedicated desk space, which a lot of short-term rentals are providing, or even a dedicated office for them to be able to use while they're in a short-term rental. So that's kind of just one small example of how we're seeing the industry change. We're seeing a lot of urban travel as well. So it's not just, I guess when we first started, a lot of folks associated a short-term rental with a ski market or a beach market, things along those lines. It's really not just limited to a beach market or a ski market or, your typical vacation destinations. We've got urban destinations across the United States that are thriving as well. So another interesting aspect of how the industry is growing.
Yeah, that's what I was getting at. Is like, as people, like, we have a lot of inventory of homes and properties, and we use it a certain way, like with a certain idea. And like, I think a lot of people just don't need the space. Mm-hmm. They either have extra properties or extra rooms in houses and they don't use them. There's just ways to be creative and maybe and develop some side income. And so I just see it as being more and more the case. And people need additional income. That's a factor. Lifestyle demands, all the demand side is just everybody's lifestyle evolving. And so, hey, it's better to get away from home, right? Mom, maybe, or dad, one of them could be, the one going and hanging out and having fun, and one has to kind of work that week a little bit, right? Yep. That's always been my life. Like, I just got to do 2 hours in the morning,
Yeah.
And I'm good. I'm the rest of the day, right?
Exactly.
But it's like, yeah, so it's probably more comfortable. So that's really cool. So tell me, it's obviously been a unique advantage for you. We said earlier, you did the full cycle. Kind of seeing, I know it was a family business, wasn't just you, but you also saw a transition. So tell me about what it's like. So now you're kind of representing the brand, and you are, but you're helping people make decisions about partnering and becoming one of the franchisees. So you have a really unique perspective. Very few people in your shoes could say, I did that, or I was part of that process. So tell me how do you frame it when you work with people? Tell me what's unique about how iTrip supports franchisees, and sort of frame it in your experience as one. And then that transition, like before, I guess, maybe it was a little different, but then when you transition, tell us a little bit about that and how that went, and then how that worked for you guys.
Yeah, absolutely. So first part of that question, in terms of how I kind of apply my experience in the business to someone that's looking at the iTrip franchise opportunity, it's really cool. I love the fact that I'm able to do that. I love the fact that I'm able to use, real personal experience and tell a little bit of a story for folks too, when we're just having our casual conversation and talking about the opportunity. And a lot of times what I like to go back to is, again, the lifestyle that we were able to build. So, it's a family business. You hear a lot of stuff about a family business, and you hear, the challenges that it has and some of the benefits. But for our family, the challenges were so minimal, and the benefits were numerous. And there are just so many benefits. We worked so well together as a family, and it really is a very unique opportunity in terms of being able to work together as a family and still being able to be very flexible. The business opportunity, it's home based. There's a lot of autonomy on how you actually run the business, who you have doing what, or how you want to hire employees. You don't have to have any employees to start. So we kind of grew into the business and grew into hiring family members a little bit over time. And we're all able to still have our own lives. We're all still able to be very involved in the business, and then also produce an income that supported all of us very nicely. And so, again, with that flexible lifestyle, we spent a lot of time at the lake. We love going to the lake. So we're able to spend our weekends going down to the water, visiting the lake house, and going down to the water, spending some time on the boat, doing our wakeboarding, tubing, whatever we wanted to do. And it provided us a really cool lifestyle and being able to do so. With owning your own business, a lot of times people think, well, I've got to be 100% dedicated to this business. My head's always in the business, things like that. But with technology and with the automations that iTrip has been able to implement and provide, you really have a great opportunity to be able to get away, to be able to put it down for a minute and go enjoy some time with the family, go enjoy yourself. So it was a really, really cool lifestyle from that perspective. Some of those automations come from a couple of different places. One is the reservations and check-in process. So, one small example of that is, when you get an inquiry in or you get a booking in, you want to make sure that you address that booking, you address that guest right away. And iTrip has automations to be able to do that. And so those booking partners that we have, they see our automated responses, or I shouldn't say automated, but our extremely fast responses to those guests, and they love that. They love the fact that we have quick response times. We're able to get questions out to those guests and answers to those guests, and have again a level of automation to where a franchisee is not necessarily having to do 100% of that themselves. They're sending out welcome information and sending out, the door codes and how to get to the property, accessing it. Automation's built in to be able to do that. They all help you work more so on your business rather than in your business every day, opening up that lifestyle aspect. So those are just, again, two smaller pieces of the puzzle.
Yeah. Well, that's a lot. And I actually did want to talk about the technology a bit. I think that really informs what's unique about you guys, and what you would offer your clients is the ability to, well, do a lot more with one thing.
Mm-hmm.
You have one asset, right? One home, whatever it might be.
Yeah.
And so using you guys, you have a lot more efficiency built in. You just touched on piece of that. Take us a step out a little bit and explain the network. Explain, like, what is the core service you're offering your client, and what is the value proposition behind your technology and network and all that.
Yeah.
For that homeowner or the person that, explain that for us.
Yeah, perfect. I was just about to do that too, because that's perfect. Because it can be a little bit complicated sometimes when people think of property management. They think of long-term property management, signing a year-long lease, things like that. And we touch base on Airbnb, so maybe a lot of folks have a general idea. But yeah, so what iTrip's opportunity is, it's a franchise opportunity in the short-term rental property management industry. So that industry doesn't necessarily have a flat rate definition across the board, but most of the rentals are 30 days or less, kind of those transient type bookings. So we, as franchisees and property managers, we're taking 100% of the burden of managing those properties, of the guest inquiries and bookings, the responses to the guests while they're in the property. We're taking 100% of that burden off of the property owner and providing that property management service to them. In addition to that, we are completely full service as well. So all of our franchisees also oversee all of the day-to-day maintenance of the property, caretaking of the property, the turnover cleans of the property itself as well. Anything else that the property may need, whether it be one-time or routine maintenance like lawn care, tree trimming, shrub trimming, things like that, to make sure that the property is in good, presentable condition for that next guest. So that's the value that we provide property owners. They can sit back, they can look at their monthly statements and collect those rent checks that our franchisees are sending them every single month. So it makes that process extremely, extremely easy. Another part of our value prop to those property owners is that we're actually able to take better care of the property because we are fully dedicated to it. And we're local owner operators. So every single franchisee that owns an iTrip franchise is local to their market. They live within their market or within about a 40-minute drive of their market. So we're able to address issues or concerns or even just updates and do inspections of properties very easily, very quickly, and able to do them more frequently than a property owner, because majority of the short-term rental property owners, they don't actually live close to their property. A lot of times they don't even live in the same state as their property. In Orlando, we had a lot of international owners as well. They didn't even live in the United States. So they had absolutely no way to be able to service these properties. So we're able to do that. Again, we're fully dedicated. So we're able to get response times and questions answered for guests as quickly as we possibly can, very, very quickly, within a matter of minutes rather than hours for, someone that may be self-managing their own property. And then you brought up the technology aspect too. We're able to get higher rental revenue generated for property owners than if they were to self-manage their property or even work with a competitor of ours. So this is kind of one way that, the industry has changed over time, and iTrip has been able to change with it to still remain very competitive and hold our competitive edge. So the first part of that is the booking platform, the property advertising platform. We actually have the largest in the industry. We have over 80 national and international listing sites that we are partnered with and fully syndicated with, so that our system is communicating with those sites all the time. There's no chance for a double booking, but again, we're getting massive property exposure through these sites. So some examples of
let me unpack that. Let me unpack that, because I know you're going to keep going and it's going to be a lot. It's really good. All right. But so first is, you have a marketplace. The first person being served in this is the homeowners, right? The property owners. And some of them are investors. Some of them own lots of properties, probably. There's lots of different kinds. So this is an opportunity that exists for mom and pop to do a little supplemental income, all the way up to someone who's doing it and saying, I'm going to buy properties to do this, or has properties already. And so that's a huge market in and of itself. That's the first part. And they're being served. Now, what you're giving them is a unmatched product, right? Using their real estate. So you take iTrip and you put it on top of their real estate and you have an unmatched product. First step of that, though, and what we're talking about is that they have the ability to quickly and always keep a room full and booked. So if you wanted to make money, one rule of that would be, everybody knows, keep that room full, right? If you run that kind of business. So you have 80 partnerships that will allow them to do that quickly and efficiently without a lot of effort. It sounds like what you're starting to break down. Yep. So tell us why that is hard to beat. And because I'm gonna guess that not everybody's doing that part either. Mm-hmm. So is that very unique? The 80, that large network, is that something that took a lot of effort and technological innovation to get networked in? And it sounded like it did when I looked at you guys.
Yeah. Yeah.
Tell us about that, because that informs how competitive you are, right? I think that you are unique. So tell us more about that.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Yeah, so that is a challenging aspect to the industry, and like you mentioned, it has been challenging since the get-go, and it's hard to maintain that for a couple of different reasons. With technology being technology, it's always changing, and there's always emerging brands, there's always emerging companies that come and go. So it's maintaining the ones that are really good, dropping the ones that may not be so good, or maybe they're going on a different route. So having the franchise organization that's able to manage those different outlets, figure out which ones are the best, which ones we need to spend a lot of our time with, a lot of our focus on, and managing the partnership, managing the connection between those sites too, that's really hard. So if you're a smaller company, if you're a regional property management company, or if you're even a national property management company, it starts to become very difficult again to maintain those relationships and find the ones that are doing something new, something unique in the marketplace as well. Finding those folks that are finding a new avenue to be able to find new guests. It's difficult, but there are opportunities to do that all the time. It takes time to meet with those folks to understand what their differences are. Again, establish those partnerships. But again, iTrip, of course, is able to do that, and that was a huge benefit when we were franchisees that were able to experience from the franchisee level. We just didn't have to spend any time doing that. iTrip was able to present all of those opportunities to us as franchisees, and it was a really great experience. I remember one of our kind of biggest experiences towards in recent history or the recent past of this along the booking partner line was Marriott International. So we were able to partner with Marriott International. We're just a small family business in Orlando, Florida. That was we started this thing in 2009, and now we're working with this massive company, Marriott International, to be able to secure additional bookings and advertise to an international platform of rental guests. So that's one of our booking partners is Marriott International, and their 153 million Bonvoy members are able to use their Bonvoy points to book our qualified properties through the Marriott site. So again, as small family business in Florida, to be able to have that kind of exposure and reach guests at that level and host guests from around the world, it was really kind of a surreal experience. It was very cool to be able to capitalize on that and enjoy the benefits that came along with it.
Yeah. Well, tell me a little bit about that. So are we saying, because I was trying to think about the franchisee now, mm-hmm. So does most of their business come through this network, or is there different ways they can manage those relationships or invest in those relationships to drive more results from them? Or is it pretty much managing the flow of what comes in, or is it very passive? I mean, what does this really look like? How do you scale it? Like, in other words, I guess, is it a set and forget on some level? But then if you really wanted to scale it a certain way, how does that work? Like, tell me mm-hmm. a little bit about how you get more guests and constantly keep that room full.
Yeah. So iTrip dedicates most of our time at the franchise level, or I shouldn't say most of our time, but majority of the effort when it comes to the bookings and creating bookings, generating bookings is coming from the franchisor support. So the network that iTrip has been able to create with these different booking sites. So it's not necessarily set it and forget it, but it's also not you're not in it day to day. You're not working on these partnerships or involvement on those day to day. You're working with guests every day, but not the actual booking sites or the different booking platforms. So the way that the franchisees can really scale is going out and building their inventory of managed properties, finding more property owners to work with. That's the quickest way. That's the best way to scale. But again, majority of the bookings are coming from the iTrip booking engine is what we call it. So these different partnerships that we have. And then we also do a lot of digital marketing for our franchisees to try to get as many direct bookings to the iTrip site as possible. So we definitely don't want to be wholly dependent on these booking partners that we have. We call them online travel agencies. So we don't want to be wholly dependent on, booking.com and Airbnb, Vrbo, those different sites that we're partnered with. We want to have a direct booking source as well. And we actually do achieve almost about a 30% direct book rate through the itrip.net website as a result of our marketing efforts. So one of the largest direct book rates in the industry. We certainly have full focus to be able to maintain that direct book rate. And franchisees and even property owners, they can generate bookings for their own properties if they'd like to, if they have, unique aspects, friends that want to book properties, or again, unique booking partners that they may have working with, or if a property owner has, a work colleague that wants to stay on their property, they can of course book direct, and they have all the opportunities to be able to do so. Again, that is part of what contributes to our 30% direct book rate. But again, 70%, majority of those are coming through that larger marketing platform to drive those bookings and the rental revenue for our franchisees.
Yeah. So you guys got that covered. I mean, up and down.
Mm-hmm.
So the real key, if there is one, if there's any resistance, or if you had to work at all, now you have to go and find properties, right?
Yeah.
Inventory.
Yeah.
So how do you frame that? How do you help the franchisee go after that business? I mean, I'm sure there's networking and there's different methods, but maybe online. Tell me more about what are the different approaches they use to find these guys? And I guess you also probably like to find people that own multiple properties. Mm-hmm. and who knows, different owners, even small commercial properties.
Yeah.
I would think I know there's big databases of these folks, but I mean, what do you tell me how you guys approach it? How do you, if you're really ambitious and you want to get a lot of inventory, how do you guys teach that?
Yeah. It's a multi-pronged approach to be able to find more property owners and scale the business. So the first and in my experience, what works really, really well for us is, again, every franchisee is a local owner operator. They're in their market. So you have the unique opportunity of being kind of a pillar of your community as well as pillar of your industry, your local industry, to be the one that people think of and go to when they have questions about short-term rentals and again, want a good property manager. So that is one unique aspect, is building your referral network to be able to get more property owner leads and more referrals to property owners. So we're able to assist folks that are in the real estate industry and kind of adjacent industries to be able to provide things like rental revenue projections for them. How much is this property going to make me if I put it in your short-term rental property management platform? We can give them that information. We can help guide them. Again, we're local experts in the market. We know where to go and where you should stay away from if you want to really maximize your returns for a short-term rental property. So we can help guide in the process. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm done. So one quick interjection. So you're telling me that, I just thought of this. I mean, real estate today, that's what I was saying earlier about the pivot, how people look at homes, and a lot of people are buying homes just for this. And you're saying, look, we can partner with real estate, and there's a ton of real estate franchises, even that's they're selling a home, but that's a big part of the value prop, right? You could say, well, hey, and by the way, if over the summer, let's say you go somewhere else, you could use this, and here's the deal. Here's what it could make you. And so, that's an awesome way to sell homes today. I think almost everybody that buys a home everybody. I shouldn't say that, but I get excited when I talk. No, but I mean, I think people, when they buy homes today, it's not just about, hey, it's our family home. Hopefully we'll pay it off. It'll be worth more than we put into it. But this takes it to another dimension. Takes a home that you could live in, but maybe potentially also share it with this kind of a strategy. And then you could afford more. So I got to believe a lot of the real estate people would all want to do this. Like, why not? Why not just have that in your back pocket? Not that everybody would care, but that's just one group that you work with, and you could. So that sounds like a big part of it. The networking aspect.
So we don't do a lot of home sharing. We really focus more so on the entire properties, whole homes, to be able to rent out in our program. So they are 100% dedicated to short-term rentals. They're vacant while guests are not in the properties typically. Gotcha. Yeah, and it's condos, townhomes, single family homes. Those are really what we're focused on. That's how we're growing and scaling our business. But the unique aspect, when you've got someone that's looking to buy a short-term rental, there's a couple of main kind of categories of buyers for these types of properties. You touched on one of them earlier, an investor. So someone that is they're either going to do a long-term rental property or they're going to do short-term. So they've got two options to be able to go down. Why would they choose a short-term rental property? Well, typically, in most cases, you're able to get a higher nightly rate. You're able to get a higher rental revenue from that property if you go short-term versus long-term. And you also have a couple of very unique advantages in terms of property care and having an insight into the property. So you're able to clean the property much more frequently than you are with long-term, and do much more frequent inspections as well. So after every single guest, you've got a cleaning, a turnover clean, and an inspection. And iTrip has actually created a proprietary software to assist with that. So our cleaners can use that to do their scheduling, and then they can actually map on in terms of how the progress of that clean is going. So they can mark it in progress, completed, or not started yet. So our franchisees can see exactly what stage the property is in, if it's been inspected yet, so on and so forth. So if they have that next guest that's asking for an early check-in, all they have to do is check that proprietary software and see if the property has been cleaned and allow for an early check-in. So kind of a unique aside that iTrip also provides in that realm. So that's one type of buyer. The second type of buyer, just to touch base on it quickly, is also the folks that are looking to buy a second home and then rent it out to supplement some income. So it's a family, they wanted to have this property wherever it may be. It's in the city, it's in the countryside, it's close to a lake or river, something along those lines. They want to have it to get away, but they're not going to use that property, but maybe 20% of the year, 15% of the year. So they want to rent it out the rest of the time. That's where we come into play. So we generate that residual income for them. We generate, the property owner reports, the inspections, take care of all of that burden for them. So again, they can generate some revenue to offset those ownership costs and still have a wonderful place for them to stay in and use as a family.
Yeah, no, that cleared it up. Yeah, I could see the opportunity though, right? Like a whole nother market, a whole nother business opportunity around buying homes, partnering with you, and just scaling that. Like, if you know what I'm saying, like that's the point. Like, let's face it, a lot of people buy homes for rental only, right? And you said that second, it was maybe a family, it's an extra home, and that's great too. But you figure there's already a market for real estate investors. This just takes it to another level. To me, this would be much more lucrative, much more turnkey. You take care of the home, like you said, you're always maintaining it. I would love to do that if I were a real estate investor versus, say, just the traditional model where you worry about the rentals, you manage things, maybe you hire a property management team to take care of the day to day, but it's still long term and it's only a certain part of the market, right? There's so much more going on with short term. And anyway, I got to believe that that's a pretty cool new door for a lot of real estate companies. So cool. So tell us a little bit in your shoes, and I want you to share before we wrap things up. I want you to share how folks can get a hold of you. But what tips would you share, knowing all the things you did, the full life cycle of the business model here, and now you're with the brand, seeing that scale. What advice do you have for someone that might be looking either at just a business in general, or potentially they're looking at you guys. What advice? What should they maybe? What do they have to have? What do they have to possess other than what's obvious, right? And your website, by the way, does an amazing job at breaking things down. It's very transparent. So I recommend highly when we wrap up, you'll leave the website, but it's very clear. It gives a lot of information.
Thank you.
And awesome and not hard. It takes a few minutes. And so it's awesomely done. But tell us, what is that key ingredient though? It's still a business. And what does someone have to possess to know they're a good fit either to run a business or to be a part of what you're doing?
Yeah, really, really good question. So we look for local owner operators, like I've said a few times, but we do look for folks that have 15 or so years of business experience. Like you mentioned, it is a business. It's a full-time business as well. It takes some experience to kind of know how to operate a business, what it's like working within a business as well. So that's where the 15 or so years of experience comes into play pretty tremendously. But it's a really great option for someone that's looking for something that's more unique from a franchise perspective. Again, there's so much autonomy with our business and truly is a lifestyle business. So for someone that's looking for that lifestyle business that's home-based and they're looking for an opportunity that has uncapped income potential as well. So the more effort that you put into the business, the more you can get out of the business. Again, very unique from a franchise perspective. It's truly uncapped, an executive level income potential with every market that we offer. Also, someone that's looking to part of that home-based business opportunity is being able to avoid a brick and mortar store and inventory to manage and warehouse or distribute. You don't have to do any of that. It's very low capital intensity because of that. And again, like we talked about before, no employees needed. So someone that's really looking for an opportunity for themselves and able to scale very lean. But yeah, you can get a hold of us on our website, itripfranchise.com. You can reach out to me via email, phone, or LinkedIn. I love using LinkedIn as well. So if you want to connect with me on LinkedIn, absolutely you can do that, or via email. I don't know if you have my email on the screen or if you want me to share it verbally.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. It's Keith.Wachter, Wachter, at itrip.co. So no M on the .co, just .co.
Yeah. That's awesome. Thank you for sharing that. And again, it's an awesome opportunity for anyone listening to be able to connect and just learn. The franchise industry is a great place. We all support the industry itself and really want everyone to be a best fit for a brand. The way brands succeed is everybody succeeds. And that happens when you make a good decision up front. So everybody's dedicated to helping you see what will be a good fit. This sounds great for me. I love the lifestyle idea. Being on the internet early and using it to find ways to earn an income was always appealing. So, but this is cool. It's very innovative. I think it taps into a lot of interesting relationships and modalities. So I think it's an interesting business model, though can be run from home and still streamlined and somewhat simple, but elegant.
Yeah.
You made it simple because it's complex in the back. So anyway, but that's really cool to hear. I appreciate you taking the time to break all that down and help me understand the model. But it is profound. It sounds like if people reach out, they can learn more about what really is possible. But it sounds truly amazing. I think what is possible from an income point of view and just feeling good about what you do. Everybody kind of wins. The investor, the homeowner, and the guest. I mean, I know for me, I've done a lot of what, like we said earlier, the Airbnbs, and they're all a little different sometimes. Yep. And so, if you can help transform a property into a short-term rental and just up level the support or the quality of the service, you're doing good there too. So thanks for that.
Yeah,
I hope to have you back again sometime. Appreciate you being on the show.
That would be awesome. I really appreciate it, Rod. Thanks for having me.
You got it. And to our listeners, thanks for tuning in, and we look forward to our next episode on Franchise Marketing Radio. Thanks again.
Thanks.